Have you ever pondered the intriguing correlation between autism and narcissism? Today, we're going to embark on a fascinating exploration of these two complex conditions and the surprising ways they intersect. Autism, a neurodevelopmental disorder, is characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and nonverbal communication. Individuals on the autism spectrum are unique, with distinct strengths and differences. Some are incredibly gifted in areas such as music, math, or art, while others may struggle with tasks that the rest of us take for granted. It's a spectrum because it affects people differently and to varying degrees. On the other hand, narcissism, typically associated with narcissistic personality disorder, is characterized by a grandiose sense of self-importance, a need for excessive admiration, and a lack of empathy. Narcissists are often described as self-centered, manipulative, and demanding. At first glance, these two conditions may seem worlds apart. Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder, rooted in the brain's structure and function, whereas narcissism is a personality disorder, often associated with a person's environment and experiences. However, when we delve deeper, we start to see some intriguing parallels. For instance, both individuals with autism and narcissists can struggle with empathy. In autism, this difficulty is more about understanding others' perspectives due to social communication challenges. In narcissism, it's about a lack of concern for others' feelings and an inability to see beyond one's own needs and desires. Another commonality is the tendency for both groups to focus intensely on specific interests or topics. For individuals with autism, this focus is often driven by a deep fascination and joy. For narcissists, it can be a way to gain admiration or control. The purpose of this exploration isn't to generalize or stigmatize. Rather, it's to deepen our understanding and stimulate thought-provoking discussions. As we move forward, we'll delve into more specifics, looking at how these correlations impact diagnosis and treatment. Get ready to delve deeper into this fascinating topic. Let's start by understanding the complex world of autism. Autism, or Autism Spectrum Disorder as it's formally known, is a developmental disorder that is characterized by a broad range of conditions. These conditions often include challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and nonverbal communication. It's important to note that autism is not a one-size-fits-all diagnosis. It's a spectrum disorder, meaning it affects different people in different ways and to varying degrees. Autism is typically diagnosed in early childhood, with signs often appearing before a child turns 3. The diagnosis involves a comprehensive evaluation by a team of medical professionals, including psychologists, pediatricians, and speech and language therapists. This team works together to assess the child's behavior and development. One of the most prominent traits of autism is the difficulty with social interactions. Individuals on the spectrum may struggle to understand other people's feelings or perspectives, making it challenging to form and maintain relationships. They may also find it hard to engage in back-and-forth conversation or to understand social norms and cues. But it's not all about the challenges. Autism can also come with unique strengths. Many individuals on the spectrum have exceptional abilities in visual skills, music, art, or academic skills. Some have an extraordinary ability to focus and pay attention to detail, which can lead to success in fields that require such skills. Recent research and expert opinions have shed light on the intricacies of autism. For instance, a study published in the Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders found that individuals on the spectrum often have a heightened sensitivity to sensory experiences. This can make them more aware of their surroundings and can contribute to their unique perspective on the world. In addition, experts like Dr. Simon Baron-Cohen, a leading autism researcher, have suggested that autism involves a different kind of empathy. Individuals on the spectrum may struggle with cognitive empathy or understanding others' thoughts and feelings, but they may excel in effective empathy or responding with appropriate emotion. As we see, autism is more than just a diagnosis. It's a unique way of experiencing the world. Now, let's shift our focus to narcissism, a personality trait often misunderstood. Narcissism, at its core, is characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. It's a spectrum ranging from healthy self-esteem to destructive, pathological narcissism. The latter is also known as narcissistic personality disorder, a condition recognized by the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. When it comes to diagnosis, it's not as straightforward as one might think. Mental health professionals rely on a variety of criteria, including a persistent pattern of grandiosity, a constant need for admiration, and a distinct lack of empathy. However, it's important to note that everyone can exhibit these traits to some degree. It's the intensity and pervasiveness of these characteristics that differentiate a narcissist from the general population. Now, how does narcissism impact relationships? Well, the lack of empathy, the constant need for admiration, and the sense of entitlement can create significant difficulties. Narcissists often struggle to maintain healthy, reciprocal relationships. They might appear charming and engaging at first, but their self-centeredness eventually comes to light, causing distress to those around them. Recent research sheds some light on this complex personality trait. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Personality Disorders suggests that narcissists possess a heightened sense of self-entitlement, which can lead to manipulative behavior. Another study from the same year, published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, found that narcissists are more likely to engage in game-playing behavior in their romantic relationships. In terms of expert opinions, renowned psychologist Dr. Craig Malkin suggests that narcissism is best understood as a spectrum of self-importance, where at one end you have a healthy sense of self-esteem, and at the other you find narcissistic personality disorder. He emphasizes that it's not about labeling people, but about understanding behaviors and their impact on others. Narcissism, then, is not just about self-love. It's a complex interplay of self-perception and social interaction. With a clear understanding of both autism and narcissism, we are now ready to explore their correlation. The parallels between autism and narcissism are fascinating, with striking similarities in certain behaviors and traits. One of the most significant overlaps is in the area of social interaction. Both individuals with autism and those with narcissistic personality disorder can struggle with social cues and interactions. For the person with autism, this is often due to difficulties in understanding and interpreting social signals. For the narcissist, it can arise from a lack of genuine interest in others' perspectives or feelings. It's also worth noting that both autism and narcissism can be characterized by a certain rigidity of thought and behavior. Individuals on the autism spectrum often prefer routine and predictability, and can become upset when their routines are disrupted. Similarly, narcissists can be inflexible, insisting that things be done their way, often because they believe their way is superior. Another shared trait is the tendency to focus intensely on specific interests or topics. People with autism often have special interests that they pursue with great passion and detail. Narcissists, on the other hand, may obsess over topics that serve their self-image or provide a platform for their expertise. Leading psychologists have pointed out these overlaps, noting that while the behaviors may seem similar on the surface, the underlying motivations and experiences can be quite different. For instance, the social difficulties of an individual with autism may stem from cognitive differences, while for a narcissist they may be rooted in a lack of empathy. Moreover, it's important to remember that these are just general observations. Every individual is unique, and these conditions can present themselves in a myriad of ways. The existence of these parallels doesn't mean that every person with autism is narcissistic or vice versa. These parallels, while intriguing, are just the tip of the iceberg. While there are parallels, it's also crucial to understand the fundamental differences between autism and narcissism. Autism and narcissism, though seemingly similar in certain aspects, diverge significantly when we delve into the nuances of empathy, self-awareness, and social understanding. Let's begin with empathy. In autism, there is often a struggle with cognitive empathy, or understanding others' perspectives. However, individuals on the autism spectrum typically have intact, if not heightened, effective empathy, or the ability to share others' emotions. On the contrary, Narcissism is characterized by a lack of both cognitive and affective empathy. Narcissistic individuals may understand others' perspectives, but they typically don't share or value their emotions, often due to an excessive focus on their own needs and feelings. Moving on to self-awareness, individuals with autism tend to have a keen sense of their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, even if they struggle to express them. This contrasts starkly with narcissism, where individuals often lack self-awareness, particularly about how their actions affect others, and are resistant to acknowledging their own faults. Lastly, let's discuss social understanding. People with autism may struggle with social cues and norms, not out of disregard, but because they perceive and process these cues differently. Narcissistic individuals, however, may understand social norms but choose to disregard them, often placing their own needs and desires above those of others. Several experts in the field echo these distinctions. Dr. Elaine Aron, a renowned psychologist, emphasizes the importance of recognizing these differences, stating, "While there may be surface-level similarities, the underlying motivations and experiences of individuals with autism and narcissism are fundamentally different." Dr. Tony Atwood, a leading authority on Asperger's syndrome, a form of autism, also notes, "The apparent lack of empathy in both cases is due to different reasons. For autistic individuals, it's more about cognitive processing, whereas for narcissistic individuals, it's about self-centeredness." Understanding these differences is key to avoiding misconceptions and stereotypes. The question remains, why do some individuals on the autism spectrum exhibit narcissistic traits? A fascinating question indeed, and the answer is multifaceted, reflecting the complexities of the human mind. One possibility is that these traits are coping mechanisms. Life on the autism spectrum can be demanding, with unique challenges that neurotypical people might not easily understand. In response, individuals on the spectrum may develop behaviors that resemble narcissism as a way to navigate these challenges. For instance, a focus on personal needs and interests could be a method of self-soothing or maintaining a sense of control in a world that often feels chaotic. Then there's the influence of social difficulties. People with autism often struggle with social cues and emotional reciprocity, which can lead to misunderstandings. From an outside perspective, this could be misinterpreted as a lack of empathy, a trait associated with narcissism. However, it's crucial to remember that this is not a reflection of the person's capacity for empathy, but rather a challenge in expressing it. Furthermore, recent research has suggested a possible genetic link. Some studies point towards shared genetic markers between autism and narcissistic personality disorder, hinting at a potential biological overlap. However, this is a relatively new area of research, and more work is needed to fully understand the implications. Finally, experts remind us of the importance of considering context and individual differences. Not every person on the autism spectrum will show narcissistic traits, just as not every person with narcissistic traits is on the autism spectrum. Both conditions are complex and diverse, and each individual's experience will be unique. In the end, the overlap between autism and narcissism is not a simple one-to-one correlation. Instead, it's a complex interplay between genetic, environmental, and individual factors, each contributing in its own way. As we've seen, the answer is complex and multifaceted, just like the conditions themselves. This overlap between autism and narcissism presents unique challenges in diagnosis and treatment. It's a complex puzzle, and one that has profound implications for healthcare professionals and those potentially misdiagnosed or misunderstood. The intertwining of these two conditions can make it difficult to distinguish one from the other. It's like trying to untangle two threads of the same color. This can lead to misdiagnosis, with an individual who is on the autism spectrum being mistaken for a narcissist, and vice versa. And this is no small matter. Misdiagnosis can lead to inappropriate treatment strategies and can exacerbate the struggles that these individuals face. Healthcare professionals must tread carefully. They need to be cognizant of this overlap and be prepared to delve deeper into their patients' experiences and behaviors. It's not always a straightforward journey, but it's one that's necessary to ensure accurate diagnosis and effective treatment. Expert opinions emphasize the need for healthcare professionals to stay updated with the latest research and findings in this area. This is not a static field. New insights are continually emerging, and it's essential to keep pace with these developments. But it's not just about the knowledge, it's also about the approach. Best practices suggest a patient-centered approach, one that respects and values the individuality of each patient. Every person is unique, and their experiences with autism or narcissism are equally unique. Treatment should be tailored to the individual, taking into account their specific needs, strengths, and challenges. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. It's about finding the right approach for each person, one that helps them navigate their world in the best possible way. And this is where the true challenge lies. It's about striking a balance between understanding the similarities and acknowledging the differences, a balance between using established knowledge and being open to new insights, a balance between following tried and tested protocols and being flexible to individual needs. Navigating this complex terrain requires a nuanced understanding and a patient-centered approach. It's a challenging journey, but one that's crucial for the well-being of those on the autism spectrum and those with narcissistic traits. In the end, the correlation between autism and narcissism is a fascinating exploration of the human psyche. We've delved into the distinct characteristics of both autism and narcissism, uncovering the intriguing parallels and the stark differences that exist between them. The overlapping traits not only challenge our understanding of these conditions, but also push us to reevaluate our approach towards mental health care. Understanding this overlap is crucial. It underscores the complexity of the human mind and reshapes our perception of neurodiversity. The knowledge gained allows us to better diagnose and treat individuals, ensuring they receive the care and support they need. This exploration into autism and narcissism is not just about identifying commonalities, it's about fostering empathy, promoting acceptance, and ultimately, improving lives. As we continue to explore and understand, we move closer to a world that accepts and supports all neurodiversities.